Hello everybody, welcome back to the Stacey West Preview Show. I am your host, Jake Tong. We're back for another Sky Bet League One preview. Another one, seems like they're coming thick and fast. Wigan at home this time. I know we had such good memories of Wigan away. Before we do get started, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to hit 500 subs on the YouTube channel before the end of the season, before we have a bit of an overhaul of the channel going into next season. Wigan then, one man that we can only invite back onto the pod, Barry. Barry, how are we?
I'm very well, thank you, Jake. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, it's good to see that we've got your full face this time, Baz. I remember last time we were slipping up and down the camera, so it's good to see that we've got the full complement. Anyway, let's get straight into it, Baz. You guys had a terrible time of it over the last couple of years, new ownership, but there's one man I think this is all down to, and it's Liam Richardson. I think you'd probably come to agree with me. I've just written down here, Liam Richardson, the man. Now, talk to me about Liam and what he's done to transform your football club over the last 18 months, 2 years.
Well, the first thing to mention, he stepped up to the plate when we went into administration. Paul Coote left. Now, whether, some people said he left because his wages were quite expensive and he was saving the club money, and other people thought he just walked away because he didn't want to get tainted with the relegation battle. Whatever your thoughts on Paul Coote, it doesn't matter. Liam Richardson stayed and he stepped up. And in my opinion, he carried the club, not just on the playing side, but the face of the club for the full period of administration. He was absolutely outstanding. He's recognised, by the new owners. The first thing they did was offer him a contract when they got the club. We were playing last season, as you know. We played you twice last season. You did the double over us, and it was basically an under-23 side with one or two journeymen, shall we say. But he had them so sorted, so organised. We'd go from losing 5-0 at home to Rochdale to going and beating Sunderland 1-0 at their place, He just worked wonders. The confidence was down, then it was up, then it was down, then it was up. But he was tactically, he was sound. Obviously, he didn't have the high quality of players to work with. I think about five of our regulars last season are now playing non-league football, and that shows you the standard of those lads. And every single one of them was a hero for us. And for us not to get relegated last season was an achievement that almost, well, it's not quite as much as winning the FA Cup, but it's certainly up there. It's certainly up there. And we gained our status in League One with a 3-0 away defeat at Hull City, and we got, that was the next to the last game of the season. I think Rochdale got beat, and it made us safe, and there was a lot of celebration going on, and it was an unbelievable feeling. So what Richardson did then, he was given permission to bring in the backroom staff he wanted, which was the main thing, because he was working on his own for the last season, and he brought in Rob Kelly and James Beattie, and their coaching has been unbelievable. Again, we've seen, our players this season have improved, so much. They've really improved. So, and he speaks very highly of those as well. We brought in a goalkeeping coach. We've actually got a physio now. We didn't have a physio last season, So from going from Liam Richardson working with his hands tied behind his back, he's actually got, he's got players to work with. We brought in a lot of quality, as we got a lot of stick for it as well. But we only bought 3 players. The majority of players we brought in came on free transfers. We finished the season with 3 players under contract, 3 players, and a couple of under 23s as well. So that was it. So we had to recruit, and they recruited fantastically well. Charlie Wyke, Max Power, Tom Naylor, Jack Watmore, all brought in on free transfers. James McLean brought in on a free transfer. Now, I know there's signing on fees involved, but there's still we weren't lashing any money out for them. And the biggest worry, as far as the Latics fans were concerned, was the time it had set this, which was a brand new squad, the time it would take for it to gel. Richardson had assembled it, and then we thought, how long is it going to take to gel? And will we, perhaps, have a shot at getting in the playoffs, but there was on a free hit anyway. But it's just been an unbelievable season, and the only person it's down to is Liam Richardson. He's just he's led from the front. You talk to anybody at the club about him, people who were there last year and still here today, how he carried the club forward last season, and the new lads he's brought in, how good he is, how he's got that spirit going in the camp, the togetherness, but his tactical awareness, his formations that he plays. It's just, everybody's just speaking, so highly of him. Obviously, we had the situation with Charlie Wyke, who had a cardiac arrest on the training ground. The first person to respond to that was Liam Richardson and started CPR. So I'm not saying he's Superman, but there's nothing this guy can't do. So we actually named after that happened. The new owners said they were going to rename the South Stand at the DW Stadium to the Liam Richardson Stand. So that's what it's now known as. So his current serving manager, he's only been in the job 18 months. And he's got a stand named after him. So I think that says everything, really. And I've just been reading today, he's been nominated for Manager of the Month for March, which I hope he doesn't get, because that's the kiss of death, isn't it? We know that. But he's not, throughout this season, he's been nominated 3 or 4 times and he's never won it, which is good, because all the players, Lee Johnson, he won it twice and ended up on his backside, didn't he? So it's the kiss of death. So I don't think he's too bothered about that. The recognition that Liam will come at the end of the season when we get promoted, and then becomes a championship manager. He's quite an ambitious person. He wants to carry that forward with Wigan Athletic, which we're all proud that he wants to do that with us. And I think we're a perfect match, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's been a great season for you guys. I think everyone sort of said, "Oh yeah, they've got loads of games in hand, but you've got to win them." And evidently, you've done that now. You're miles clear of Rotherham and teams of that ilk. Now, highlights of the season, Baz. I think you'll probably have loads here. We ain't got too long for you to talk to them about. I think maybe one that stands out from me would be that 4-0 win that you guys had over your little noisy neighbours, Bolton Wanderers. Is that the one you're going to tell me about?
Yeah, well, there's three away results which were fantastic. We beat Plymouth in their own back garden, and we played Accrington, and we could have been 10-0 up at half time at Accrington, and it ended up 4-1. And I think that's probably the best we've played this season, Accrington away. And then we went to the best team in League One, as the manager had proudly professed, and give them a bit of a spanking. And it was so embarrassing. The crowd misbehaved. They were throwing stuff at the players. It was horrible, but it was beautiful at the same time, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I think if you ask 100 Wigan Athletic supporters, each one will say that game is the standout game this season, and it was brilliant. The fantastic performance from the lads. Every single one of them was up for it. But Ian Everett had done the team talk for Liam Richardson. Yeah. There was he's an idiot. We know that, and we played him last week, and he was up to idiotic stuff again. I'm sorry for coming on a Lincoln City podcast and slating Bolton Wanderers, but the one thing that I think League One is aware of, that Bolton get battered everywhere they go, and they deservedly do so as well. What an awful club, toxic through and through, from supporters to manager to players. Yeah, and we battered them in their own back garden 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, we went there the other week and they did the pathetic sort of Icelandic clap that they do with John Daddy Bodvarsson, and I can imagine they were doing it on Saturday at the DW.
Now, because he scored.
Yeah, because he scored, yeah. Now, you guys have an unbelievable away record. When we've won league titles before, Baz, in the past, I'm thinking back to the conference winning and the League Two title that we won over the last sort of 5-6 years. Our away record was next to perfect, and you guys have a next to perfect away record, which is the reason you're probably where you are, because your home form has perhaps been a little more patchy than you guys would have liked, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you'll know about that because we couldn't win a game on a Tuesday night, and you came to the DW in October, didn't you? And
more on that later, Barry. We're going to talk about that later. Don't worry.
But 2 weeks ago, I had Tom Naylor on our podcast. He was a guest on our podcast, and I was talking about this, about the homes and the aways, and he said they really love playing away because it's the fight. They're up for the fight, and he said there's that togetherness away from home. But something else that Tom said was that if you look at all successful sides, like you just mentioned, Jake, if you're picking points up away from home, your own form will take care of itself. And that is what gets you promoted, that away form. And I think that's done it. On a points per game basis, we're well clear at the top of the table. I think if you look at the away form table, MK Dons are there at the moment. They're 1 point ahead of us, but they've played 2 games more. Yeah. So points per game were well ahead of the rest of the division. And it's just been unbelievable. I've been to many away games this season, and we're just so in control of the games. It takes your breath away. And like we mentioned there, I mentioned Plymouth, I mentioned Bolton, and I mentioned Accrington Stanley, and they were just superb. We've come unstuck a couple of times. We got a draw down at Cambridge, and Sheffield Wednesday beat us, and we lost the first game up at Sunderland. But that's the way it's it. That's the way it's it. We played Rotherham. To be honest with you, we should have beat them. We had a perfectly good goal disallowed there. We ended up a 1 apiece. Went to MK Dons. They scored an absolute scrappy 89th minute equaliser again. Yeah. And so our away form, I think our season's been built on our away form. There's no question about it.
And key men then, obviously, of course, I've written down 2 players that were injured and can't get in the team. James McLean, I think it's probably unfair to not give him a mention, however much stick he gets from away fans. He's been really good for you guys this season, a really good signing. Tom Bayliss was one that I wrote down as well. Obviously, he's injured, but we came up against him when he was at Coventry in League Two, and he was amazing there. But the 3 that are not injured that I've consulted with you are Will Keane, who scored against us last season, Tom Naylor, obviously, who was at Portsmouth, he signed on a 3, and then one of your own, Callum Lang, who has really stepped up to the mark this year, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. Let's start with Lange. Lange's just been sensational. He's got that burst of energy. Last night against Accrington, he never stopped running. He had to be dragged off on about 80 minutes because he was flagging that much, but he was still putting the shift in. He fights for every ball. You can tell he's got a desire to play for Wigan Athletic. He's come through the ranks. Again, we've interviewed him on the podcast, and he said all he ever wanted to do was play in front of Wigan Athletic supporters and score goals. And he's been doing that this season. He gets clobbered every game. He's getting clobbered, but he bounces back up. He has a moan to the ref, but he bounces up and he carries on. He's that type of player, very robust, a cheeky scouser, with quite a bit of flair about him. He loves that little. That if he plays with his back to goal, he gets the ball and does that little turn and is away in with a burst of energy, and he loves that. Sometimes you'd like him to be a little bit more selfish and perhaps have a crack himself rather than trying to pick a colleague out. Last night was one occasion where he did exactly that, looked to pick somebody out, and everybody was screaming for him to have a crack at goal. But he scored a beauty against you last season as well, down at our place, behind closed doors as they were. So I'm hoping he's going to get one of them on Saturday up at Sincil Bank. The other players you mentioned, Tom Naylor, I thought we was in this division 2015-16 with Burton Albion when he was at Burton Albion, and he was standout for them that season. So I've always recognised Naylor as being a really, really good player. He's very important to any successful side. He's one of them who breaks play up. His interceptions are in the 80s. He wins all his tackles. He does the ugly stuff and then just lays it off. He's been phenomenal. He's been superb. I can't say that word. He's been superb. He's unbelievable. He's been this season, and he's come with everything I was expecting and more. He was captain at Pompey. You mentioned he played at Pompey there. He was captain there, and he plays a captain's role on the pitch, as do several of our players. You know, they play that role. And of course, you mentioned Will Keane, who his career has been blighted by injury. He's had a torrid time, and he's never had a decent run in it at any club he's been at. But for the past 18 months, he's been a regular at Wigan Athletic, and he's been banging the goals. He finished the season back in the last season with 12 goals. And he's got 20 so far. So in a year, he's bagged in 32 goals, which has gained him a call up to the Republic of Ireland. And his brother Michael, who is a minute younger than him, because they're twins, plays for England. Yeah. And he, they must have been crossing the Irish Sea at the time when his mum would give him birth, because he made it to play for the Republic of Ireland. So he's a full international as well now. He's had a fabulous season. He's good. He's brilliant on the ball. He's not good. He's brilliant on the ball, and he's got a really, really good football brain as well.
Mate, you picked up on your game last night, Baz. You brushed aside Accrington 3-0. Literally, like they were never even there, wasn't it?
I won't say that. I've talked about Bolton earlier on, who we drew with on Saturday, and Accrington, for me, were streets ahead of Bolton. They played really well. The first 20 minutes, we couldn't get the ball. Now, whether it's that we're at that stage of the season where the teams at the top of the league are a little bit nervous. You know what I mean? It's so close that they can touch it, and it's just they need settling down in the game. Accrington didn't let us settle. There was at us from the kick-off. McConville was playing really well. He was really dangerous in midfield. He's a good player, though, isn't he? He's been around a long time. Was his O'Shaughnessy? Is it O'Shaughnessy? Can't think of his name. The little left winger as well. Well, more of an inside left than a left winger.
Tommy Lee, is it? The guy of the Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee, yeah. No, it weren't him. It was or something.
I can't remember. I can't think of it.
Remember. But he was. They were getting stuck into us, or flying into us, and the back three as well. The three big lads at the back. Michael Nottingham and two other lads are very strong in that first 20 minutes. But they seemed to run out of steam. It was as though they'd raised the game early. But we got a goal. We scored a cracking free kick from Joe Bennett outside the boxes for goal for us. Killed it into the top corner. And you could feel it just relax on the pitch after that. And then we turned it on. Josh McGuinness, who's coming from Hull, he had a slow start, but by heck, he's firing on all cylinders at the moment. Cracking header, scored a cracking header from a Max Power delivery. And then there's 2-0 at half time. And then the second half, we were just in control of the game. And Will Keane mopped it up, give us our third goal. Yeah, and that was from another Max Power delivery as well. So he's one to watch, Max Power.
I will take you back to October, Baz, and I said I was going to do it. Probably one of our performances of the season. We got a win away at you guys in midweek, and then we went to Hillsborough and got a point, which was quite significant for little old Lincoln. But, I mean, for you, that night, you told me that you couldn't win on a Tuesday night, and you probably knew that it was coming, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. But the surprising thing was, I mean, I've talked to you about this before, but how good you were last season. I know I fancied you to get promoted, and I wasn't surprised. But I'm surprised now to see how your season's faltered. You know, you looked a really good side, and on that Tuesday night, you looked really, really good. Even though we did it the Woodwick 3 times, and we had a goal disallowed, albeit for handball, but. You still looked a decent side, and you know, you give us one hell of a game. It was 2-0 until the 95th minute, weren't it? When we scrapped that goal at the end. You looked really good. I'm very surprised to see where you are in the table, if I'm being perfectly honest, which gives us a little bit of trepidation about Saturday.
Are you slightly worried then coming to Lincoln, where as I sort of came onto your pod and said, not many teams in the top 10 have come away with a win at Central Bank. Are you worried that you might join that list of clubs that don't get a maximum up here?
Yeah. I mean, we take nothing for granted. There's none of the flash-harry stuff about Wigan Athletic, because we know what we are. But with three, we reckon we're probably 3 wins off promotion, 3 wins and a draw. Maybe this game will be the draw. I hope not. I hope it's one of the wins, because we've got yourselves, then Burton, and then Cambridge. So
Yeah.
from our point of view, without any disrespect to any of those teams, you've got to identify a top of the table team thinking they can pick maximum points up there. And that's what we'll be going for. And I will be set up no different than any other game that we play. You know, home and away, we set up the same and go about it in the same manner. But yeah, I am, because I do have a sort of a fear about Lincoln City. And I'm surprised John Marquis isn't playing more regular for you as well. I've noticed he's been on the bench a few times. Because he's the player who tends to score against us. Yeah,
he got dragged off just after half time yesterday. He didn't look too happy about it. Predictions then, Baz. What are we? I know you're probably thinking that it's a game that you guys should be winning given the league positions, but in all reality, would you take a point?
Would I take a point? Begrudgingly, I would. I mean, for the sake of our friendship, I would. but in reality, it's like I said. With these next 3 games, we've got to be looking to pick maximum. We need to get this promotion settled as soon as possible. I think it'll be a good game. It'll be an interesting game. It'll be a close game, and my forecast will be a typical Wigan Athletic performance. We tend to concede every game we play. But we will score 2, so I'd go for a 2-1 away win.
Fair enough, Baz. Now, plug your podcast, because you've mentioned it a couple of times, but plug away.
Yeah, the Progress with Unity Wigan Athletic podcast, or PWU Athletics podcast. We're available on Twitter mainly. You can pick us up on Twitter. We have a Facebook page. We've just passed 1 million downloads earlier this season, so we're quite popular. I don't know why, because we just talk gibberish, but we're sort of well established. We've been going for a while, you know, and we do tend to get players on as well, and backroom staff from the club come on and do interviews, and they'll be going out this evening around about 10 o'clock Wednesday evening, and it'll be on with a preview of the Lincoln City game. We'll have a look back at our Accrington game, and we're looking forward to Lincoln City. And yourself, Jake, will be featuring on there with your little preview.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Wicked. Well, thanks for coming on, Baz, again. Obviously, we won't get to speak again next season because you guys are going up. I think that's pretty obvious. Thank you for coming on, Baz. It's been great getting to know you over the last sort of 2 years or so. Thank you for coming on. You're massively appreciated. You're very well liked amongst the listeners. So thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back for another preview next week against Portsmouth. Thank you for watching.